All right, I'm going to allow a couple more people in. We got people coming in still, driving as well. Okay, Edgar, I see that. All right. So we're going to be talking about, we kind of went through the routine of a professional soccer player last week. We actually went over Lionel Messi's daily routine, what he does for breakfast, what he does for afternoon, for lunch, for dinner, and how he does his workouts. So we went over Messi's routine, and I thought that it was an eye opener for some of you guys. A guy that age, still doing that kind of workouts, still taking care of his body. I think it should encourage you all to take care of your bodies a lot better. What you eat, especially. And I don't know if Brandon is going to be here today, but Brandon actually does this for living, he said, for nutrition. We would love his feedback here and there. I think he's going to prepare something small for us too to share a suggestion. And I shared when I play pro my routine, what I eat, how early I got up. So we went over that last week. All right. So we're gonna go to the next screen. This is the one less mental preparation. So this part, we're gonna kind of go over visualizing the game. This is a big part. Like as a player, this was a big part of my game. I lived the game. If I'm playing this specific team, I knew how they played. I kind of played the game in my mind, and I thought positive things going to happen. I'm going to give an assist. I'm going to try to do some through balls. I'm going to find my forwards. I'm going to do that. I'm going to win some headers. And I start thinking positive, but I was really living the moments and living the game in my mind. And it's still so critical for every player. There is videos of professional players talking to themselves in the game, like Cristiano Ronaldo. When he's taking a free kick, he's like, "You're the best in the world." He's telling himself, "You will score this. It's going to be easy for you. This is what you do." Everybody's looking at you because they know you can score this. This is the stuff that he tells himself and motivates himself. So the mental part of the game and the visualization of what's going to happen next is critical. If you go there without any plan in your mind, it's going to be everything is going to be a surprise. But if you at least have some positive things in your mind that you visualize before the game, it's going to help you guys with what's going to come next. Does that make sense? Give me yeses, guys, in the chat. If you have a question, I can jump in there. Okay, so it is very important to mentally prepare yourself for sure. And I see a lot of yeses. Thank you, guys. So, positive affirmations channel your inner motivation by repeating positive things to yourself, right? I'm strong, I'm focused, I'm ready, I can do this. And you can do that not just before the game, but during the game. You can tell yourself that, get you out of that bad zone if you get into that. It's so important that you mentally prepare yourself for these things. Visualization is one thing, and positive affirmations is another one, and control your breathing, such a big thing. And a lot of players have anxiety attacks during games, and this is not because the coach yells or the other players are doing. It's just you not really recognizing what's going to come next. So to be able to do the first two things, visualizing things and positive affirmation, you do need to be able to take a breath. Like long, big breathing is really good for you. Slow down your breathing, also really good for you if you are a really heavy breather. One of the biggest things that they taught us when I played is breathe through your nose and give it from your mouth. Like it relaxes you, it cools you down, and you also spend a lot less energy when you're running. So if you're running around, like you're actually spending a lot of energy, your lung capacity is going down, and you're getting tired a lot quicker. So it's gonna be helping you with your stress, anxiety levels if you can control your breathing. And a big heavy breathing Open your arms and take a big breath is always good. Like I said, but slowing down your breathing when you're already running around because you're breathing heavily is very important too for your confidence. Do you have any questions about this, guys? These are very important. If you want to take a pictures of some of this stuff, you can kind of look at it, and I can send you guys later if you want this presentation as well. Okay? No questions? This is not good start for us, guys. All right. Oops. Let's go with the physical preparation. Dynamic warm-ups is the one that is very highly encouraged now. In my time when I played, we did overstretching, lots of stretching, 25 minutes of stretching before we start. And then they're saying now that's not a good thing. It causes long-term injuries. So dynamic stretches, dynamic warm-ups is critical. That's why we do that 3 lines. And after the 3 lines, I think some of our teams need to do it a little bit slower and adding some of the muscle stretching stuff to the warm-ups. But generally, what we're doing is the right way of doing things around the world. What is expected in professional soccer players even to do active stretching like that. But once something is tight, right after you stretch, you need to stretch that area, separately, because whatever is tight in your body, it's going to show up after those dynamic warm-ups. So make sure you stretch that area, and if you need help, you can ask the coaches how to stretch that area, and they will be willing to help you guys out. Nutrition. So fuel your body with consistent pregame meal. And this is not fast food. Fast food is draining your body. I told you guys last week when we were talking about it, any kind of sauces, heavy sauces like salsa or ketchup, mayonnaise mixes, and all those stuff. The more you use that stuff, your body spend a lot of energy to burn that, so you can get rid of them. But as more you actually eat that kind of bad stuff, fast food, your body's spending a lot of energy to burn that, and now you have a lot less energy to use in the game. That's why some of you guys come to the game tired, or you start running 10 minutes and you're already tired. It's not necessarily you're being in shape. Sometimes it's because of what you eat. And it's so important that you eat well before the game. So lean proteins, carbs, don't exaggerate the carbs, but like easy bread, couple slices bread is good. Pasta is good for you as long as you don't put too much sauce on it. And chicken especially, guys. Chicken. Not a lot of sauce on it, just chicken itself. Shredded chicken has been very popular. You put a little bit salt, a little bit black pepper on it, and you're good to go. If you want to be healthy and you want to feel like you have a lot of energy, that's definitely a very important part of your routine about before the game when we do this stuff. And you can see technical repetition, engage in a focused technical routine. So right before we warm up, it's a good idea to get the ball, juggle, pass the ball to each other with your friends. We already add some of that stuff to our warm-ups, but before we even start, if you want to do some stuff like that, especially for your position, like let's just say you're a defender, maybe after warm up a little bit, you can do some separate headers and separate things to make yourself even better. Okay, Nazar, you raise your hand. Ask the question in the chat, please. Write it down. Tim, you can unmute yourself and you're welcome to make a comment. Yes.
Hi, I just want to make a comment on the nutrition portion.
Yes.
A big part of nutrition as well is timing of it. Your last big meal should be about 3 hours before the game, and then about an hour and a half before you're having something small that's probably high in carbs and a little bit of protein. I like to do a peanut butter and jelly sandwich about an hour and a half before my game with a banana, and then
Banana is good. Yeah.
about an hour to 30 minutes, that should be loading through sports drinks and carbs. Right, energy is sugar, and so there's good sugar and bad sugar, like you were saying. And so, like the things we want to get, like if you're drinking a Gatorade or if you're drinking like coconut water is a good one. Like they have coconut waters that have electrolytes and stuff in them. Or even like a package of gummies. Like I like to use like Welch's fruit snack gummies. They have better ones, but those are easily digestible, will prevent you from cramping and give you a lot of energy during the game. And then when it comes to halftime, doing like a little halftime again, carb loading, where you're doing either a package of gummies, a banana, or like a lot of sports drink or a reasonable amount of sports drink is a really, really good way to get that nutrition going so you're not feeling heavy and super tired and cramping and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, banana has been a lifesaver for a lot of people for cramping up and stuff too. So, definitely hydrating is very important, like you said. And I love the information though. Thank you, Tim. Tim, by the way, also does this for living, guys. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask Tim in the chat as well. And Brandon is here, the goalie, our semi-pro goalie, also does the nutrition part of the things for living. So this is what he's studying for. So we have some amazing athletes within the program. I kind of give the general summary of it, but they can really open it up for you guys if you have any questions here. All right. So let's go to now. Do you have any questions before we go into this? Raise your hands. What about nutrition for a weekend of tournaments? Uh, is Isaiah says he find a lot of the players drained, absolutely drained. Number one, they should not be like if they're out of town, they should not be going to swimming in between games. That's been a horrible thing for these guys to cool down. They go to swimming and they actually play, and they drain themselves even more. That's a really bad thing. They don't necessarily hydrate either in between games. That's what I recognized. And again, they eat bad food in between. Like they go and get McDonald's and they go get Taco Bell and obviously this is definitely not helping in tournament weekends. Um, Tournaments in general is not necessarily healthy. That's why we minimized it down to two tournaments because it's just not healthy for the players. Causes a lot of injuries, causes a lot of muscle problems, and it's important that we kind of try to eliminate those big game weekends as much as we can. Tim, do you want to add anything about a tournament weekend?
Yeah, definitely. When you're looking at a tournament weekend, let's say we're doing Saturday, Sunday games, Friday night is going to be really important what you eat. So Friday night, you should do carb loading. Basically, what that means is you're eating a bunch of pasta or a bunch of rice or bread. Personally, I'm a big like spaghetti guy, so like a big spaghetti and meatball dinner. It can also be turned into a team bonding activity. So if you guys get together for like a dinner the night before, you just do a big bunch of spaghetti, but making sure you're carb loading Friday night is going to be important. And then I would probably say going again into Saturday night, making sure after the games you're doing a big carb loading session of pasta or rice or something like that. That is as healthy, right? And you don't want to have these super heavy sauces. So like I typically avoid like cream sauces because the dairy is pretty heavy and weight can weigh you down. And then just following those principles, like I was saying. There was also a question about games at like 9 and 10 o'clock in the morning. That one's a little bit more difficult, right? Eating 3 hours before a 9 o'clock game. Who wants to get up at 5 or 6 a.m.? You can, but it's also like you can be reasonable with it. So if your game's at 9 o'clock, you can eat at 7, and then still follow that protocol, right? Where you're getting those carbs and a bit of protein in with it because protein helps you absorb those carbs. So
Yeah, I agree. And then one thing that somebody else is asking that is in private message, what are some most healthy foods to eat? One thing that I was going to say, and Tim and Brandon, if you want to jump into that one, the healthy foods to eat, what we're talking about, protein, high protein, and one thing that I was going to tell you guys, like protein wise, when I played, they were suggesting almonds because it almonds has high protein count and it's like matching some of the meat burgers you eat, so it's like kind of you have a snack like that, almond with you is actually really good. uh, but I'll leave it to Brandon. Are you able to speak?
yeah, I'm here, Dutchy.
All right, tell us what you suggest about healthy foods for an athlete when we're talking about high protein. and some of the other stuff that we were talking about, like right here, we're talking about that digestible carbohydrates. I love that easily digestible carbohydrates. That I love that whole sentence. And then lean proteins as well for optimal performance. So please take over.
So for carbs, what you're mostly looking for is whole grain or whole wheat. Um, your body, especially because of the added nutrients with whole grain and whole wheat, you're just getting more nutrients into your body in general. So that's always a good thing, getting those extra nutrients compared to like regular white pastas or white bread. That's a little more processed, which kind of newer science about the processing part is a little the normal, but whole grain, whole wheat, great, great carb. For fast acting carbs, as Timothy was saying before, like during games, Gatorades are actually a pretty good source of that. I know people are scared about the sugar, but Gatorade is designed to get those quick carbs into you. So if you're ever working out like at the gym and you're kind of going through and working out, and you're getting a little bit low energy, take a Gatorade, and it helps restore those energy levels very quickly. So you might even get better gains at the gym, or if you're just running low on energy in general, like during a game or practice, just bring like a little Gatorade with you and just take a couple sips, and it gives you immediate energy, or available energy through the fast acting carbs. Um, and then proteins, chicken, always a great one. I eat plenty of chicken. You can do beef too. Vegetarian options if anybody's vegetarian. Tofu is obviously great. It's just made of soybean. And beans in general. Legumes are a very good source of protein. Black beans, pinto beans. I prefer black beans, but both are pretty good. To keep it in general. So getting those good fats, and then Dodgy was talking about almonds, nuts. Um, if you know you're going to be really really active that day, especially burning those extra calories, nuts are a good source. Just because they're so high in calorie. I would prefer something a little more calorie, maybe like a protein bar if it's good because that gives you also the protein and then there's extra carbs in there depending on performance ones or kind of whichever ones that you prefer. Um, Nuts not during the game or like during practice, but as Timothy was saying, like having like a small snack before if you get hungry, like an hour and a half to 2 hours, having those and giving it plenty of time to get into your body. So it gives you that energy later on because they don't kick in immediately, if that makes sense. Timothy, if you have anything to add, feel free.
Tim or Brennan, I got a question for you.
Yeah, ask away.
What about just healthy alternative snacks for the kids for munchies? Like everybody likes when they come home from school to grab like chips,
Mhm.
to go sit on the couch, to go do something. What about just grab a candy bar or whatever? What about just a healthy alternative, good snack for these guys? What's something that would be a good substitute for them?
Yeah, totally. Marco wrote dried mango in the chat. Any sort of fruit is phenomenal. Dried fruits are great. Looking at like beef sticks, like if like not Slim Jims, but like they have other different types of like meat sticks or beef jerky, anything like that is a really good one. I know cost can sometimes be an issue. Like personally for me, like if I were to eat beef sticks all the time, I would go very poor because they can be pretty costly. But stuff like that, packets of gummies are good as long as you're not like eating seven of them. I'm also a fan of like goldfish and Cheez-Its because those are carbs, relatively healthy carbs. And like Brandon was saying, they have different types. You can get like whole wheat or whole grain, stuff like that. Um, and then trail mix is a really good one because trail mix is a pretty good balance load. Also, for those of you who like dairy products, yogurt is phenomenal. Like yogurt, is high in carbs, high in fat, high in protein, and just overall really, really good for you. And you can mix like oats in with that, or blueberries, or honey, or maple syrup, and chocolate chips. So anything along those lines are typically pretty good.
Perfect. I just wanted the kids to hear the alternative snacks, mainly
Yeah,
because I know most of us adults are pretty good at picking our favorite healthy snacks. But
not all
yeah,
of
to
us.
have the kids hear some of those alternatives are great. So if we can make sure they get those options back to their parents, that would be awesome.
Great question though, Brad, to open that door. We are so lucky to have some professionals within our club. Tim and Brandon, thank you for answering these. It make the session very clear, and I was hoping you guys will be here today. So that's great. So we're gonna be kind of talking about some other stuff now. Going into how we pressure with different systems. Can everybody see this right here?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah,
this is a
coach.
3-4-3 with 1-6 and 1-10. And we see the ball in the left side on the left back's feet. And the way that look at how they are, this is the number 9 forward. This is the attacking midfields on the right and left side. This is the number 10 in the center. Now we're attacking with 4 players in this system. We have 1-6, one outside wing back, and 3 center backs in this system. So how they would press, if you want to take a picture of that before I go to next screen, this is with 1-6-3-4-3. Okay, I'll give you guys a little bit of time. All right, so let's go to the next one. Do you see how now the right attacking mid steps to the left back? Number 9, this forward cuts this pass. Number 10 cuts the pass to number 6, which most of the teams are going to try to find this guy right here. So as long as we cut the lane to that guy, we're going to be fine. And the opposite side attacking mid, if you see that, they slide. This guy slide. All of them slide to this area. Even the outside wing back, they're leaving this area open, but they're sliding to make the central area more compact. I'm going to be taking questions, but I'm take a picture of this too, how they slide. We have a couple different tactics and systems in play. So now we go to the next one with 2 6s. So we have now one attacking midfield on the outside, one attacking midfield on this, 2 of them on the outsides, 1 forward, 2 defensive midfielders, 2 wingbacks, and 3 center backs. And the ball is on that side again. How would we slide? We would slide outside attacking mid goes. Forward has to cut this pass, and now the opposite side attacking midfield is going to have to run a lot. They are coming to the central lane to cut the pass to the center. And these two are going to be staying there. They're very compact. We are not allowing a lot of space for the other team when we play this behind us. It's if these two are not sliding, which a lot of our teams cannot figure this out, they cannot slide. If this guy is here, they're just going to find this passing lane and they're going to go through. So it's critical they slide. If they don't slide, then the 6s are going to have to step up and go out of position, and we are not going to be able to keep this compact shape anymore. So take a picture of this too. And I'm going to go on the board to answer some of the questions. And let's go to the next one. This is 3-5-2 with 1-6. So this is something I haven't done with you guys. I have done this with some of my former teams. So this is something that some of you guys might think you've seen it, you haven't yet. So the pressure in this, they work with different type of groups. So when the ball's up there, you see the 2 forwards, right? One of them on the left side, one of them on the right side. 2 number 8s, 2 center mids, and 1-6. So this is a different version of the 3-5-2. So the pressure point, if they're pressing, right forward presses this guy, center forward slides to the center area, and one of these guys, the center mid step to that, the other one stays and slides. So let's see the other one. You see that now outside, one forward is here, one forward is up there, and one of the center mid step to this gap, the other one step to that gap. Now we have two players cutting more lanes, and the six is staying deep, and this guy sliding more. Not a lot of options. So this one cuts the lane to the center mid area with two options. So every time. So if the other team is opening the game with two sixes or 1-8 and a six, it's good to bring these two players to that gap. This is something I'm going to try with the semi pros this year. Because of the way that our players coming in is a different type of players than last year's. So we're going to be looking into something like this, but take a picture of this too. And next one is, this is the one that we usually use. 3-5-2 with one attacking mid, two sixes, and two forwards. The ball is up there. And go to the next one. And if one forward goes here, one forward cuts the pass to the center or drop. Attacking midfield cuts to the pass. They need to be moving this way so they can cut the pass to six. These guys stay deep, and so we can actually adjust and step later. But they are actually sliding together. If you realize, almost all of them, they're creating the same shape to cut lanes to the passing lanes to the other team's outside players. Most of the teams are going to try to get out from their outside backs. So if you know how to close these, it's going to be really successful for you. Okay. Let's see. Okay, that's it for that one. I'm going to stop the share for a second. And I'm going to show you guys something else, but I want the coaches to step in and ask a question about these. So we do play as a club three-back system. We're famous for that. I've been teaching that to universities. I've been teaching that to professional youth teams in Europe. I do Zoom meetings with them. So this is what we are specialized for. And three-back system is very useful, even though it's not comfortable for some people. Once you get it down, it's very, very good. And you can take teams down that is not as, like they are, maybe some of them are 3, 4 times better than you guys, but you can contain them better when you play with three backs because it's going to be a lot more help stepping to the gaps. And you can actually step without worrying about leaving a big gap behind you. So let's go with the setup. Hold on just for a second. Let me find where I am. US soccer. What happened to the? Okay. I'll go get the simple tactical board real quick for you guys. Okay. And we go to board change. Let's go to here. I'm gonna keep it right here. And we can talk about it as we go. If any of the systems you guys want to see what they look like in different areas. So, questions, coaches, you can unmute yourselves, and if you have any questions. So I set this up. This is the 3-5-2 with 1-6 and 2 8s. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. Let me share it again. Make sure that you guys can see. Okay. Any questions, guys? Anything? Because like some of you guys from the past, you might think that you know the 3-5-2. This is not the one that you know. This is a little bit different. This is something I used to do years ago, and this is something I played as a player.
Omar asked the question.
Okay, what is the question?
So Dayi,
Yeah.
when we are when we are pressing like that, most of the teams play back to the keeper. Can you
Mhm.
show the players and us what do they want us to do on that in that case, in that scenario?
So you need to press all the areas. So let's just say this is where the ball is, right? And in what system do you want me to step into?
I
Three five
mean,
two with 1-6 or
either one because most of them we are like almost defending the same way. I just want to know because they open the ball to the left side over here. The keeper plays there, and then we start pressing, and then they drop it back to the keeper. But
yeah.
we
So
already shift.
let's just say from here, right? Let's go
Yeah,
with from there. So in this case, we want in with the 3-5-2 with two eights. So this guy's gonna press, this guy's gonna start coming this way, and one of these guys gonna step, and this guy's gonna come here, and this guy's gonna come here, right?
correct.
So if they do pass it back to the keeper, we're just gonna be having this guy step towards the keeper, but how do we want him to step? We want him to cut the pass to open the game to the other side, right? Because if
That's
he
the right thing
steps
that I was looking
straight,
for.
yeah, if he comes straight into the player, the goalie easily gonna make the choice to go that way. So once he gets the ball back, we want this guy to step in an angle so he doesn't even go that way. So obviously, if this guy is open now, we're going to be committing more players to this area. So we're cutting up every option. So if he needs to go back to that, it's going to be much easier for us to press that area. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I
So
just want the players to know how to cut the pass because they most of the time they just run straight to the keeper and they open the game to the other side.
yeah, straight like running straight to any defender even is dumb.
Right.
So like we want to lead. So what my professional coach used to say, the first initial pressure decides where we are pressing. So in this question, so if he goes straight, like, oh, I see this all the time, unfortunately, from our, especially the like the mid, like the high school age, all of them, they go straight. Oh, no, I'm gonna press this guy, dude. He has option to go here, here. And then you're not really leading anybody else to go where you want them to go. So if you do this, let's just say you cut coming from here, now you're leading these guys to step to these areas because you're cutting this lane to the pass. Now they should be creating this triangle to step. So when the pass comes, I mean, my bad, the pass comes to this player, we can step up and steal that ball. If there is nobody here, of course. If there is somebody here, this guy is not going to leave his mark. So you come from an angle like that, might not be the best, right? If there's a player up there and you want them to kind of go towards the center, so you cut this lane here, and that's going to make this guy come in here, and we just created a triangle again. And he's looking that way to open the game. We read that, go early to the player. We just need to read. That's one of the issues I see in our games. Any of the O9s, 10s, O8s, O6s, they don't respond to what the other team is doing. Right? In the last game, the academy team, when we were playing, we should have beat that team so easily. We had so many chances, but we could create more chances if we do this. Like, for example, there's a player right there, and we are pressing that player, and this player is moving that way, and he has one option, just this guy. Why don't you step early so when the pass comes, you can go and steal the ball? But what we do is we watch the guy pass the ball to that player, and then we start stepping up and defending. We are too late. And we are not just alone doing that. So if this guy is looking this way to pass the ball, this guy is leading him to go that way. So we should go here, we should go here, we should all slide this way, right? Because we are cutting all the lanes now. Boom, we're in business. They're not getting out. But we're not doing that. So once you get to a point that you can actually start reading that play and start doing that and reading the play, you are next level player. You are the one guy that I want to put in my team, semi-pro team, or if when I coach a professional team, I would want that guy, a guy who reads the play, guy who anticipates where the ball is gonna go, and understands that this is how we're going to play the game. That's the next level player. And unfortunately, what we see in our games, this guy gets the ball from a keeper, this guy alone pressing, and this guy passed the ball. He's like, oh, wow, nobody else came here. Why did I even run? So we need to make sure that we do a better job sharing that load with other players. Does that make sense, guys? Efren and again, you guys are playing with less numbers, but you can do this in a different setup. So if you want me to do an 8 versus 8 setup, I will step in a couple minutes.
Daji, I have another question.
Okay.
So
Let me
when
just see is there any other chat item there? Isaiah, what do you mean by that? Can you move the D mid out of position? Show how important it is to stay in positions. Though, yes, it is very important to stay in position. But do you mean like if they have to step, is somebody else covering them, or what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so it wasn't just for the D mids. It was just to show the importance of everybody dropping back and not staying up top because the whole defense structure will just get messed up. But yeah, like I find my D mids staying up a lot, so it just leaves a big gap in whatever area they're attacking from.
Yeah, both of them should not be attacking.
Hmm.
So my rule, if I'm playing with two sixes, whoever goes to attack and starts attack, the other one stays back. You know what I mean? That way, they know their responsibility. If they're both attacking, there's a big gap behind them, and then defense is gonna leave too early to step. Unless you're behind, then you can commit those numbers, and you can even play like leaving one of the guys in the gap. So like I'll show you something.
Well, this
Like
happens a
people,
lot whenever both of our sixes step.
yeah.
I mean, it happens every game, at least two or
So
three times.
another thing, this is why I'm introducing this option as well. So if you play with two eights, you know what I mean? If you play with two eights, you are closing a lot of gaps, and this guy is always staying back. He's not attacking at all. These guys are doing all the pressing. So that's another option. And somebody is 3-5-2 an offensive or defensive formation. Depends. If you play with two sixes, it's more worried about defense, more compact. It's more about counterattack. But if you are playing with two eights, it's more attacking because you want to lock him in their half. You're not going to let him out for sure.
All right, thanks.
Mm. Uh, Ege, sorry. Now I'm
uh,
get to you.
yeah, that's fine. So I wonder, Daji, so when we pair strikers, like, is there anything you look for specifically, or any two strikers is fine in this formation?
So if you play with two forwards, they have to be both mobile, right? They need to be moving together. So wherever the ball goes, if the ball is going that way, they need to be like 15, 20 yards from each other so they cut the passing lanes. They also can connect with each other. If this player gets the ball, he's going to step, so he just needs to make a diagonal onto the space. We release the ball, he's right there, right away to the goal. So we want these guys to be staying connected with each other. And that also is going to make them other team. If they respond to that because they want to be defensive when we steal the ball, that also opens up a lot of space for the outside lanes for other players. So if we can just, open the game to the opposite side somehow, but maybe pass and pass, that's going to catch them off guard as well. But the two forwards staying close to each other in this formation, both the parts of the 3-5-2 is critical. So there's another version of 3-5-2. I'll show you that too. So
And Dodgy,
so
that
this is
distance, but sorry, Dodgy, the distance between those forwards is usually only about 10 yards, right?
depends
10, 15.
where they are, right? But 10
Yeah.
to 20 yards depends on
Mm-hmm.
where the other team's players are. But
They
if
have
the
to slide
players are
together.
close to each other, we want to, like let's just say if the other team's options are close to them, 10 yards. But if the other team's options are so far from each other, then you need to keep a little bit bigger distance, if that makes sense.
Sure. Thank you.
No worries. And the 3-5-2, another way to play this, you can play, let's just say, with two sixes, 1-10. And we do want them to usually move together. But then another way to do it, use this guy as like a false nine and play these guys all the time wide. So what happens with this is, let's just say this guy gets the ball. Let's just spread out to them to their positions. So let's just say we are an option here, but and false nine forward checks into this gap. That means you both need to be last man as wide as you can. So if they do respond to this like like that, and if you get the ball, you can make a diagonal run and find this space in through balls. But if they're compact, you can find the last man right here, pass it right away, and start going in. So you can play a 3-5-2 with a false nine and playing keeping the outside players wide like that. So when would you do that? You would do that when you recognize the other team's outside backs are not coming back at all, and they are very weak on the outsides, and they're very strong in the center backs. When you see a team like that, I would do this every time. Does that make sense?
On that play, do the outside follow the defenders when we don't have the ball?
Okay, that's a good question. So if you're playing with a false nine, right? So let's just say their left back gets the ball, right? So he has to follow this mark, yeah. And you have to be sliding this way to cut this, and one of the sixes need to be cutting this way, and you need to opposite side cuts the columns, but not too far. We want to still keep them up there. So one of the sixes need to be sliding that way. And if there's a forward right here, we need to make sure our right center back tight marks this player. The other two, now we look like a four-back system. That's why the three-back means you can send one extra player to the gap and still play a four-back system, if you think about it that way. We're just sending him a little bit later than before. Because that way we don't get caught like this and having this space for this player. We see that happening. We step to that player, mark him tight. Now we are actually on top of them right away. Does that answer, Omar?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, any questions, guys, about this? What what other system you want me to address? We've been
Do you
playing.
mind showing a lower number? I know you were going to try to touch on that for Ege Efren's group.
Okay. Yeah.
Obviously
So
not
it depends on
a
where
full
they're
sided
playing, right?
press.
They
Yeah.
actually play a little bit different too. But let's go to 8 versus 8 system. So 8 versus 8, usually teams play something
Do
like
9
this.
9 and Efren do 7v7.
So
Yeah, we're not including the keeper. Yeah, he's just saying 8. Yeah, it's 9v9 or 7v7.
yeah, so this is how many now? It's 7, 8.
Mm-hmm.
So we need one more. Okay. All right. So this is 9 versus 9, right? And let's put another player right here too. And the other teams usually do this though. A lot of the other teams
Mm-hmm.
do something like this. So what do you guys play, Efren? And let's go with Ege first.
We do 3-4-1 mostly.
So like this,
Yeah, like this, yeah.
or you do like this.
A little bit, yeah. I put one of them a little bit further than, but they change, as you said. One stay, one go up. They're
Okay.
changing.
So they switch around like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So what was your question like about the pressing this or what?
I think we are good at pressing, not too bad, since most of the teams we played before, they cannot, unlike the high school kids, they're not strong enough. But like we have
What if
problems.
you're in a higher division? What if you actually face a team that can possess the ball?
Yeah. So
So
probably
what do we do?
we will have spaces, I think, in the wingers, behind the wingers, mostly. Because center is good, three center backs do well, but wingers mostly they lose their positions.
So in this age, it's okay to keep the center back a little bit deeper, but we do need to make sure that you create these triangles right here. And if we can create the triangles like tighter right here, they're never gonna get up, even if they're a good team with possession. But unfortunately, in some of the games I've seen our teams play, this is what I see happening a lot. So comes, they just find a pass to this here, and they are just dribbling into space and beating people with skills because they are able to receive the ball. At your ages, if you can steal the initial pass, they will never get out. You just need to make sure we press them. Now, what will happen is they will lose confidence as they are like, even if they're a 10 times better team than you, technically, tactically, or speed wise, if you're winning every pressure right here, you're going to bring them down. They're not going to be able to hold on to that. So, but we need to make sure we cut every angle and we create these triangles to be able to make sure that we can come. So, opposite side staying wide right here, it still should not be happening. And let's just be honest, this is what happens in your games, right? So, we need this guy to slide in as far as he can when the ball is all the way up there. This guy can be open. We don't care. We do not care because there's a travel time for that ball to get all the way there. If anybody in that age group can do a 60-yard pass, let's just say they can, we can still defend that and reshape ourselves. So I guess what I'm waiting is, do you have a question about like where they're supposed to stay in what position? Because you need to be able to explain that to the players too, and we need to see who's going where. So in my experience watching the games, right? Let's just say two players. You said in the center. The center back gets the ball and one forward pressing. Pass goes here. One forward pressing. They pass the ball around, and one forward is going nuts. If he takes the ball, he scores because the other team is bad. But if he doesn't win it, and they can actually pass the ball around, then we're in trouble because we're not pressing as a group. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, when we press, are we bringing minimum 3 players with the pressure? That's the bigger question. So that goes to every age group, by the way. Like alone pressure is the dumbest pressure, and you need to make sure, like we said, we gotta cut the angle to where we want to go. Maybe we have players here, right? And we don't want them to go wide because they have wide options here. If you're a smart player, then you're gonna start coming from here and make him want to go this way, where we are pressing. So he goes that way, and now we steal this ball and we score a goal right away. So that's what the training needs to come in ahead. Again, do you have a question about this?
No, I got it, Taji. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Okay, so uh, any other questions about this, guys? Coaches?
Dodgy, what's our distance? I know this answer, but just so you can bring it up and touch on it. So when we are pressing as a team, the distance between our center backs and our forwards as an entire unit, right? As we press that distance, yeah.
So this is usually should be like 40 yards for top level. Um, so I mean, I will still keep it 40 yards even all ages, but it can go if you have a fast of defensive team, you can make that about 35. You can press a little bit higher, and if you count on the speed of your defenders and you believe in them, but 40 yards is pretty decent. So the problems will happen with you guys, as Jeff is saying, if we have players waiting really deep, and now this gap is about like from the forward pressing to you is about 60 yards. If you have this big gap, the other team is going to find ways to fill these places. And this is when the other team can easily pass the ball around you and attack better around you. you do need to make this 40-yard space. Does that make sense, guys? And then we come back 40 yards. So let's just say they're all the way here, they're attacking, and we are in defensive positions, right? If the ball is up there, we're sliding this way, or we sit the three back. This guy is coming back here. This guy is recovering, right? And this guy is covering. We're gonna recover, but because if the ball is here, we're gonna have to come back more central, cover this area, and we should be coming back here. So again, the distance between the defensive line and the offensive pressure is still about 40 yards ish. Yeah, it's around there at least. So when you close this, you're gonna give them a lot less space to deal with. Let's go to yeah. Questions, Darren? Do you have anything?
No, I just hope my guys are paying attention because whenever I ask them to not let them out, this is exactly what I'm asking them to do, is to cut off these lanes and to keep these guys in the deep end. We don't want to let them out. We play so much better when we're the ones pressing them, not them pressing us.
Yeah. So with the 2 6s, so what do you guys play right now?
3-4-3 for the most part.
Okay.
Sometimes we do the diamond, sometimes we do the 2 6s. It just depends on the other team.
Yeah,
If the other
like
team's
the
strong, we're going to play 2 6s. But
yeah, the biggest thing is if this team is constantly able to find, that means your other forward is not your attacking mid. I mean, is not sliding and closing these gaps. So when you're seeing that happening, either sub out the player and talk to them and to do it right, and create this triangle right here, right? Or you bring one of them to be playing 10 and play with 1 6, and you can press these areas. So like, let's just say the ball comes to this player again, uh, outside attacking mid, this guy, and this guy comes to the gap. So if there is more than one player, that's what some of the questions comes. You need to make sure you stay in between them. You still make the triangle. So if the pass goes to this player, you can still step to that to a point. And if it goes to this one, it will be easier to steal for sure. But if you're dealing with that. Now, can we have this guy to come and help? We would like him to come and help if they recognize there's two players up there. Do we want this guy to step to this gap? Maybe, if your defense is also responding to step to the gap that he's creating. Now we're looking like a four-back system, which is okay. As long as you're marking the players in the gaps and you're leaving minimum two players in the center, that's why we have that extra defender to step to that gap. Does that make sense, guys? The problem, like I said, the biggest
coach,
problem I've been seeing in games and training, though, is falling asleep, ball watching, and like letting a player like this guy gets the ball right here, and he's staring at this guy here. And this guy's pressing, he's leading the ball that way. He's, like panicking. He's like, oh, I have one option. I'm going to pass it there. And this guy needs to be right here, right? So why don't you step while he's passing so you can press it hard, and get the ball? But if you're waiting right here, when the ball comes to you, now you're going to be pressing late, and he has a pass to go forward, he has the pass to go here, and he can drop the ball. He won't even panic. You guys are giving him too much time because you're not anticipating where the ball is going to go. Read the play. Step to the guys. They might pass early. So when they try to pass, we steal the ball. Done. I think that's a big issue. Like, I only see this happening consistently in the semi-pro teams that we coach, or my U19 teams I used to coach. Once I spent about 3 months working on this pressure. And then once they get it down, rest of the season we're set. If we get a new player, we might have to teach them that. But that 3 months, I go and go and go, and this is where you go, where you go, where you go, where you go, and then they get it down. So if you can teach this, your games are going to be much easier, right? I'm talking to coaches on that, and if you learn this, players, your game is going to be much easier for you. Is there any questions about this? Anticipation, we are not great. We need to be better at it.
Dad, you got a question, Matt?
Okay.
Yeah. So on that same idea, but like the anticipation for the I guess the eights, if you're having two eights, to
Uh-huh.
send the ball through that chemistry between the forwards. And sometimes I watch the games and I see I don't know if it's the eights because I'm not too familiar with the formation, but I just call it midfield, whatever. But the time for takes too much time, to send the ball through, and then give give time
So
for
we
their
don't,
defense to.
it's for now, none of our teams play with two eights.
Oh, okay.
We play with two sixes. So this is brand new. We have not introduced this to the club yet. So one thing this will happen with the two eights, you will be staying up higher with bigger numbers, and you'll be more compact in the central lanes. So to be able to possess when we steal the ball in the central areas, the importance comes to Leo. The importance comes to is our wingbacks gonna understand that now we stole the ball. We do not want to attack from the central lane because they've been trying there and we're pressing there. We want to be able to go as wide as we can and trying to find these lanes. This is when the other team now is going to spread out. Now we're going to have more spaces in between the two. But if the other team is already very compact when we're stealing the ball, right? And they're not wide. Once we steal the ball, they're going to be recovering, right? It'll be perfect place, but unfortunately, sometimes our offside wings they stay back. If they're pressing from here, these lanes, and this guy is open, let's just say, and he's making a run, but he's not making a run wide enough, then this guy being wide right here is going to kill their team shape. He's going to step to this. We release the ball to the space. He's gone now. But look at how we have triangles there already. So we're just going to be responding to that. But once we have a widest option, that is always going to be messing up the balance of the other team. Because he might do this. This guy is looking at him. If the player responds and starts running early into space, he leaves this guy open now. Right? Now we have a triangle. He can make an overlap run. We release the ball. He goes. See, this is another thing our players don't do, unfortunately. So if we get the cross player go all the way here, our forward is still running in here. Dumbest thing. This is when you recognize that they're all coming back to defend. You need to start going hiding space. You need to start running towards the central in the blind spot of the center backs. When a cross comes, it's just a tap now. But
Oh.
unfortunately, we try to make runs right in front of the defender right here, and we're trying to make miracle shots from impossible angles.
Now this
And
right here is what happens to us a lot. Our guys get the ball on the outside. They're dribbling. We've got one forward coming into the box. Nobody helping on the backside. It's like us constantly telling our outside mids to stay back and be worried about that outside player keeps them from coming into the box to be another option. That makes more sense, but that's not what we get. And how do we teach the guys to kind of crash forward whenever we're in this position? I mean, we still got to make sure they can get back if the ball gets loose, but how do
that's
we get
when
them?
you need to make them understand that there are some positions that you need to take risks, and there are some positions cannot take risks every time. So what are the positions? Let's just ask. So if we have the ball all the way here and we're about to cross, a center forward should not be here. They should be making a run in the blind spot of the player. A number 10 player should be around here. Either another forward here or he goes to back post, right? And we need to make sure our center mid supports. So if they do defend as well, they can drop it and we can cross the ball. This player cannot be overcommitting. So we need to make sure Okay, we need to make sure they'll be coming back a lot more numbers than this. So we need to make sure that we have tried to keep two players in the back spots, and then the third player can step to the gap so we can lock them in. And in this case, if they have possession, this guy needs to step to this guy. If he's running back, he's just gonna have the ball and go to that space. And once we step to that gap, we need to stay there. The biggest mistake our players do, if you are marking this player right here, until you get it back from that guy, you do not go back. You even could foul the guy, not dirty, but foul the guy, but you do not let them. Oh, yeah, he got the ball already. I'm just going to run back to defend. Dumbest thing. Dumbest thing. If you're here, this is your guy now, even if you're a defender, and everybody else needs to recover. So players who needs to understand they need to go inside every single time is number 10s, 8s, 9s, 11s, 7s, attacking midfield. So we need to make sure we bring numbers. You bring numbers, you're gonna score more goals. You bring numbers, you're gonna lock them in their house. But the biggest problem also, right? There's a lot of problems when it comes to soccer. The biggest issue that we don't understand. So let's just say if this defense is doing this, and we're playing, we send one of the center mids to here, and we are in a good position. But look, how many blue is open in the gap? I see this as a huge problem for us. So if we lose the ball, are we ready to take the second attack? Are we able to take the second ball? The second ball is very, very important to keep the attack going that way. But if it's a bad cross, this guy gets it. Look at how many options he has. So before the cross, we need to make sure that we are stepping to these areas and in the closest zone, mark the players in this closest zone. Furthest guy, if we mark, we're leaving in really bad shape. We need to make sure one guy is unmarked, and this you should be the fastest guy you have, and everybody else should be marking this central area. So if the cross goes to here, this guy gets it. We should be on this immediate players, and we should cut the lanes, right? So they're not going to be able to get out. Now we're going to win the ball over and over again, and we're going to keep the attack. But unfortunately, you guys ball watch, and it goes with the players and sometimes coaches, right? And this guy wins the ball, and we realize, oh crap, there's so many open players. They're attacking. How do they score a goal? Because we did not worry about the second play. So second ball, what we call in soccer second ball. Like just because we have possession of the ball, that doesn't mean we give up our defensive responsibilities. And our defensive responsibilities in this case is very offensive. We need to make sure that we are going to keep attacking. They get the ball, they clear it. All right, we got it again. Cross it, finish it, bomb. We are scoring goals now. That's the difference. Now I'm going to ask a question. How many coaches? How many of you guys feel like during an attack, we scan the back and we are actually filling the gaps, or our defenders talking to each other about gaps? Our goalie should be all the way up here in this case, talking to his defense, who's open. We should be stepping to those guys. How many times do we see this in our games?
Maybe once.
Once in a game?
Yeah.
Well,
No, I mean, it happens constantly in our game. I try to stay with the defense and make sure that they're doing this, but it seems like the guys should pick this up after I've said it 100 times in a game. And
this is when
instead,
we give responsibilities on the center backs. They need to start taking charge to talk. So a quiet center back and a quiet goalie, you're in trouble.
yeah,
That's the bottom line. So somebody in here needs to be vocal and, hey, mark that guy. Mark number 8. Mark number 9. Hey, mark 7. We're set. So now we messed up a cross. They cleared the ball. we take the second ball. We attack again. We pass the ball. We attack again. We are gonna constantly attack if we can win the second ball. All right. Any other coach, Brad? Any other semi-pro guys? Do you want to make a comment? I personally bring an assistant coach to keep with defense, even in the semi-pro level. Usually Jeff does it. Back in the day, Darren used to do it for me. Like, to me, it's important to have that defensive coverage that we win the second balls. And you have no idea how important it is if a defensive coach actually stays on those players and makes them mark. We win so many balls up there in that gap. They can't even have an easy attack anymore against us. But we cannot be leaving one guy open. So it happens, guys. Even coaches fall asleep. I put a coach in defensive coaching thing. They fall asleep. They're like watching the goal or watching the attack. They fall asleep. They forget these guys, and they other teams go against the ball and throws it to the guy in the middle. Even coaches make mistakes. So it's okay to make mistakes to a point, but we do need to consistently get better at it. Consistently eliminate. So again, if your guy's doing it once and there is 20 attacks, once is definitely not going to be stopping the amount of goals you're going to get scored on against good teams.
I mean, without my warnings, usually I tell them what to do, they do it, but without I'm telling them anything, mostly we don't do like, perfectly. Especially as Jeff also said, keeper and center backs mostly uh they don't communicate. Even though,
Yeah,
I assign them. For example, I do Daniel as a captain mostly. Before the game, I talk with him. You're the leader of the defense. You need to make sure for example, if you move up for the corners, at least two of them stay in the back. You need to make sure, but mostly we are not doing it 100%.
yeah. Well, it would be crazy if we did. So that's okay. But I think we need to constantly like the biggest problem. Like one of our coaches, I'm not gonna give his name in the past. He just assumed like after saying it a couple times, he's like, oh, they should get it already. In reality, it's not gonna happen. And it's going to be maybe one or two players because everybody learns in a different speed. And some of the players who doesn't get it now could be your best players in 3 years, but their learning process takes that long, unfortunately. So you do need to constantly repeat yourself and stepping on those subjects, do one-on-one conversations with them for sure. But in general, our coach is doing a good job with that. It's just you need to do it more and more and more. Like in and if let's just say Jeff has been around more with me, Darren has been around more with me. When I'm coaching a training session, how many like mistakes will slip by me? Like how many of them I would not call out?
Not many.
Like I would say something, right?
Yeah, no,
Like no
very few.
tokens, no this. You should have passed it wide. Like it's constant, right? Like it's kind of like when you do that, the information you're giving sooner or later is installed in their minds. So if Darren is doing it and he's giving good information, sometimes we yell for no reason and we say some wrong things. But when you say the right things, and he's consistently saying the right things, now they're gonna be hearing that Darren's voice. Okay, I was supposed to not press straight. I'm gonna cut the angle. Now they're gonna hear your voice in their mind doing that, and once they get to that point, your job is easy. Your job is easy. But it takes a while to get that, and it's the frustration us coaches see because we know the game or you've seen the game, you understand it, but everybody's learning level is different, so we're gonna have to really step to that one-on-one conversations. And look, we we this is one of the biggest group we have. We have 270 players in the club, and today maximum number we hit was 63. Like they should all be here. These are the stuff that they're gonna actually understand, learn, and respond. their brain is gonna start developing better when they see this stuff on the screen and where they're supposed to go in their positions. Does that make sense?
Yes, coach.
Okay. All right, guys. Coaches, stay for a second. Everybody, you guys are good to go. Stop.